But yeah, I think overall I did really enjoy this movie. I think this movie was glazed hard though.
Maddie disappeared without a trace. All they found was her TV set burning in the backyard.
Hello, Drive-By Movies here, and you're watching
Fresh Releases.
My name is James.
My name is Blaise.
And I Saw the TV Glow was a hit in theaters, and now it's finally made its way onto video on demand. We're here to check it out, and here are our thoughts.
I told myself I made the right choice. What if I really was someone else? Very far away on the other side of a television screen.
I Saw the TV Glow is the story of two teenagers that bond over their love of a supernatural TV show, but it is mysteriously canceled. So this was a film that came out of Sundance. I know this is the sophomore feature of Jane Schoenbrunn, and she also directed I Saw the World's Fair. We're All Going to the World's Fair, another kind of low key, it seems like techno, I guess, like thriller almost in a way, or technological like horror movie or genre movie, because I felt like this movie was being classified as a horror, and I definitely don't feel like it's a horror movie at all. I feel like it leads into genre, but I feel like it's more categorized, it should be categorized as a macabre mumblecore, because that's definitely the vibes that this one was giving to me. Anyways, James, what'd you think of the film?
Yeah, that's absolutely 100% correct, because I can see a lot of people, like, I'm reminiscing the days of It Comes at Night, where people went to go see it in theaters expecting a horror film and got some artsy-fartsy stuff. And it's been a while since I've gone to IMDB reviews, and went there and just like, I know a lot of people make fun of Rotten Tomatoes user score reviews, but it's not much better on IMDB, I gotta say, just because some of the reviews on there, I was just like, oh my gosh, like, this is the worst movie you've ever seen, like, come on, and stuff. Like, a whole lot of people just like some of the crazy rants I was reading on there. But this movie was kind of advertised as like a horror film, and even if you check Letterboxd or IMDb, it is classified as drama/horror, and definitely not that. It's very niche, and yeah, like you said, a more intense thriller mumblecore movie with more, like, you know, lots of reflect and lots of things for the audience to think about, and that is, like, you know, a casual moviegoer's nightmare, having to think after the movie and try to figure out what it means and what the interpretation of this and that is. And that's what this whole movie is. It's definitely a movie that I'm probably not going to have all the 100% right answers and interpretations that are correct that the director might have. But, you know, overall, though, I like its overall message, its vibes, and its and the soundtrack to the movie. It's a really solid movie. Not a movie I think I would ever revisit again, but it's a very strong film and definitely made me interested in Jane's previous work, because that's also a movie that's been on my watch list for quite some time.
Yeah, I think we were talking about it earlier, but that movie's been on my watch list since it like dropped on Sundance. But then it took over a year, because I swear it was like Sundance 2020. Maybe 2021, but I swear it took like a year and a half or 2 years to finally get a release on Max. And then like at that point, I just wasn't, it's not that I wasn't interested in it. It was just like the hype kind of wore off. And then there was other things I was getting hyped to where I'm like, oh, I'm watching this. And then eventually, little do I know, the next film comes out, and I'm like, okay, I'll just watch that. I guess that's more available faster. I mean, this was at Sundance literally this year, and it's already available to stream at home, and it made a small run in theaters. So yeah, I think that it definitely, what I saw here makes me like excited enough to go check out something else from this director, and especially at a smaller budget. You could tell the film like this probably wouldn't have made it into Sundance if it wasn't for the cast that was kind of behind this movie. I think it's a lot easier for directors on their sophomore film to, you know, maybe not pull up with the craziest like story or film, but as long as you have a cast that can kind of get you there in a way, and you're almost shoehorned because people want to see your second movie because the first one was so hot or hyped. But yeah, I think overall I did really enjoy this movie. I think this movie was glazed hard though, like almost too much glazing. Like the glazing was just everywhere. But yeah, like I did enjoy it. I wouldn't say that this is like, you know, a 4 or 5 star movie, which I think on my Letterboxd is literally just 5 stars across the board, and I'm like, nah, there's no way, come on guys. But yeah, I did enjoy the film for the most part. I do think it kind of really speaks to our generation, and I know you didn't grow up really with Nickelodeon as much. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you had cable in adolescence.
Correct, yeah. So, you know, like, of course I get like some of the goosebumpy like references, but overall this movie's also trying to go for a young adult channel, which would, you know, necessarily be like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, which, yeah, I didn't have access to watching as a kid.
And this one is literally like it does kind of seem like it could be, you know, but it's just straight up Nickelodeon. It seems like it might be Cartoon Network, but this is straight up Nickelodeon. They even mention like, oh, it turns on to oldies after a certain time, and that was something that Nickelodeon always did. And you'd stay up late watching some of the Nickelodeon shows, and then there'd be some weirder shows of more like Are You Afraid of the Dark, or along the lines of the Pink Opaque in this film. And I think that this definitely spoke to our generation in the sense that I was actually having some similar feelings to what was experienced in this movie. Nothing, you know, towards the end of the movie, of course, but in terms of, I felt like there's been some shows that I've definitely, or movies as well, where I have a lot of nostalgia for it, and I really like it. And I'll even bring it up now, like, oh, I you know, I was thinking about this, but then I'll go and revisit it, and it's like the scene later in this film, I guess kind of a spoiler, but where Jess Smith puts on the Pink Opaque, and he's just like, it's totally different than what his imagination remembered. Like, we're literally seeing a scene that was shown previously in the beginning of this film where the effects are actually really good, but it's super shitty, and the effects are really bad, and it looks bad, and even the dialogue is cheesy. And when he's rewatching it, and he's just like, dude, this sucks. Like he even hates it, and that was cracking me up, because I'm even like, dude, I've definitely done that even recently with stuff that's, I wouldn't even say super cheesy or anything, but you go and revisit something from your nostalgia, and your memory has totally glazed it over, and you might have even, you know, appreciated it in you know, your modern times, and then you go back and watch it, and you're like, oh, this isn't like I remember it at all. I kind of wish that I never rewatched this, because my memory had, you know, was so fond of it.
Right, yeah, it's pretty unfortunate, because yeah, that's definitely happened to me as well. There's so many things that used to scare me as a kid, and just rewatching it as an adult, I'm just like, really, this is what was so traumatic for me? Little Slappy, or this little purple slime monster from a PBS show. I forgot the name of it, but I think I've told you about it in the past, how it freaked the hell out of me as a kid. And when I looked it up as an adult, I was just like, oh my god, like maybe I'll post an image and post of editing what that creature was. But yeah, I like its take on nostalgia and everything, and also you can definitely see the inspirations. Like it's meant for our generation, kids who grew up with that kind of stuff, and then also seeing lots of references to previous stuff. Twin Peaks is a big inspiration within this movie, especially with the bar sequences, with, you know, basically having a music video. It's very David Lynchy. And you know, also hearing Sleepaway Camp multiple times within the movie, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's on purpose, which is fantastic, because it's a very underrated horror film in my opinion, despite it not being for everyone. But yeah, it's just like it has like a interesting take on nostalgia, but also just like our personal growth of, you know, and like your inner true self that you've been hiding and keeping away for all this time. And, you know, at that point you just become a substance of like society and just like get lost and like forgotten and everything, versus like taking the leap into this weird, like it's hard to explain, but you know, you get it when you're watching it. And I think it like conveyed it pretty well, but I can see why so many people got frustrated watching this movie, just because it's, A24, I'm saying it correctly for those of you who want to complain, and not saying it A24 anymore, but yeah, a lot of people, like to go see their movies and, see what's different, but this movie's even pretty niche just for the A24 crowd. Despite it, overall, I think the messages are pretty cut and clear. Even with getting like a person like Fred Durst play like an abusive father and stuff, he's a product of the 90s. A lot of people saw him as, like just the guy who starts the riots at Woodstock 99. But, him playing like kind of that personification of what the media played him as in the 90s within this movie was thought pretty funny. But
yeah, and I have to say, I think you nailed it earlier when you said this movie is a vibe, because I think that that's really where it is. Like, this movie is definitely a vibe. It hit me in some aspects of the nostalgia for sure, and it definitely, there was a point in which I'm thinking, like, with the way that the Pink Opaque is like just canceled, it reminded me of something I often forget, is just like when shows were canceled back in the day, you would like be searching through the TV guide like, wait, what happened? Like, you don't even know. There's no announcement. There's no social media. So you didn't know your favorite show got canceled. And when that show is like such a part of your personality, or just something, or the part of the ritual of even watching TV, you're returning every week to watch this show that you like, and it's basically part of you, and then it just gets canceled, and then it's just over. It's like experiencing heartbreak for the first time at a young age. Essentially, you're like, okay, like, wait, what happened? You just get ghosted, and you're just like, like you don't know how to really handle that. Like, I can remember, like, honestly, countless shows that I would like watch, and then just they disappear, and you are left wondering like, what happened, like, really. And I feel like this film really capitalized on that feeling, because that's a lot of what our characters are going through. But yeah, they kind of nailed that whole vibe of like that kind of show that they're showing. It mentions Buffy the Vampire Slayer in the trivia, and they grabbed the exact font from it when they're showing like the Pink Opaque titles. And even that font, I was like, to me, I never watched Buffy, but I definitely remember at least seeing it before changing the channel, and it definitely hit that exact vibe. I was thinking more along the lines of like Animorphs. I thought it was possibly the same font, but I think it's just Papyrus though, honestly. But yeah, going back on that too, it's just like horrifying, because I don't even like thinking back, like, seeing Justice Smith as Owen, watching the pilot episode like way out of order when he's already gotten obsessed with this series, and then he's just finally barely watching the first episode. Like, it's crazy how much media has changed, and how, like, a long time ago, if you didn't start from the pilot, you didn't have a way of watching the pilot till like the following year during the summertime and stuff, and watch the rerun. You just had to jump into a show and just like kind of watch it every week from there too. So I just thought that was like an interesting element that we all kind of forget and take for granted, and especially with streaming now too. It's like, just because I know Seinfeld, one of my favorite shows, I never watched the first episode until like it hit Hulu eventually and everything. So it's just funny to think about those kind of days and stuff too. So yeah, this movie it's not going to be for everyone overall. It's a movie that, like, you kind of have to put in your like film school brain on, and I was kind of unprepared for that starting my day with it. However, that doesn't take away from the movie at all. I still highly enjoyed it, but it's just a movie that, like, if you're expecting a horror film, you're not going to get that. And even if you're just expecting an interesting like thriller drama from A24, you're still not even getting that too. The very niche movie for a very niche crowd. If you've watched like over 1,500 movies in general, then yeah, this movie will probably be more for you than, I'd say. Definitely. Yeah, I'd say if you're interested in some of those vibes, and if you're a kid growing up in the early 2000s, late 90s, it'll probably hit that nostalgia factor for you. But yeah, it definitely isn't gonna hit the vibes of like maybe the trailer or what you're expecting with those cool neon glows. But overall, it's definitely a vibe. It's like the macabre, style mumblecore movie that you might have been waiting for if you're a film nerd.
Yeah, so let us know what you thought about the movie in the comments below. It's a great way to help support the show. It's available to rent, so be sure to check it out. There at Amazon affiliate link in our description box below.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
And speaking of updates, catch all our social media links down below. We got Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, as well as our own personal Letterboxd accounts. That'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.